Hello and welcome to the Fit with Us podcast, episode number 61. We are back after a 2 week hiatus because Kyle decided to fuck off to the Canary Islands. How was it, mate?
It rained for 50% of the time,
You're joking.
and I got food poisoning the day before I went. So it was
No. How was that plane journey over then with food poisoning?
not great, mate. Got to be honest. I just wasn't in the best of places, and then sure, going with a baby and going when you're half shitting out your guts, not ideal. So
How did the wee man fly?
to be fair, he was all right. It was a 4 hour flight, which is like we'd taken him to Bordeaux last year when he was a bit younger, and he slept. Sorry, he slept through it. It was less than 2 hours, but because this was 4 hours, there was a few times where it was a bit rattly. It was all right for the most part.
Good. No, I'm delighted, mate. That's solid. Apart from the food poisoning and stuff like that, did you have a decent break? I know it's always hard to fully switch off, but did you allow yourself to fully switch off?
Oh yeah, mate. I'll be honest. It took me 2 or 3 days. That wasn't helped with the fact I had food poisoning the day before I went. So with that, try to get everything. That was the busiest day I had the day before I went, and I literally spent from about 2 o'clock in bed. So made my peace with the fact that probably we would have to do a wee bit of work the first couple of days. But after I got that out of the way, literally just, and to be fair, it helped. It was raining the first couple of days anyway. But once that was out of the way, that was fine. Smooth sailing after that.
Nice.
I was going to say, you're, as much as we're going to dive deep into the invasive questions about your life, mate, you were at was it Ben Hawksworth thing? Is that what it was?
It was, mate. Aye, that was a couple of weekends ago down in Leeds. It was called the Inspirational Summit, and it was really fucking good, mate. Took a lot from it. You know that way when you leave like an event like that, you just have this wee fire in your belly, and you just want to come kind of get the head down and put all your ideas or bring all your ideas to light. So I don't know if it was just because it was a full on weekend and I was spending a lot of time on trains, but I was fucked for about half the week when I come back. So it took me a bit. It probably took me a full week to fully recover and digest everything that happened. And then I was like, right, last week, bear in mind here, we've not been here for 2 weeks. So last week I was like, right, time to take everything that I took from that weekend and put it into action. And I could feel that wee fire in my belly roaring. So last week was a fucking mental full on week. Ended up getting a wee challenge. Started with my online group with 12x, so there's 60 people on there. And it was all of them against me pretty much. And it was just like a wee point system just to keep everybody accountable and get everybody moving and stuff like that. And whoever beat me on points got to choose a forfeit for me. So I was up at 7 a.m. I was in the gym at 7 a.m. most mornings. Public gym, I'll come back to that. Out of everybody that competed, one person beat me, and it was because he was on holiday and he was doubling up on these sessions to get my points. So I tell you what, mate, it ran Friday to Thursday, so it finished on Thursday just there. See, yesterday, Friday, we were recording this on a Saturday. I was fucked. I slept the majority of yesterday. My body did not know what had happened. I lost 2.5 kilos in a week just because I was like trying to bank calories because that was one of the point system. Yeah, training every day pretty much, which I don't recommend. And my body just fucking felt it yesterday, man. Holy shit. Thank God I had a day off the gym, mate, because me and Belle were cuddled up in that bed for hours.
But you best start banking sleep, mate, because when that wee baby comes along,
100%, man. But do you know what, mate? It was really good fun, and it was good to see everybody else getting right behind it as well. Because we're in weeks. This is week 7 of the 12-week process, and you'll know yourself after week, 4, 5, 6, that's when the motivation starts to take a wee dip because it's not new and exciting anymore. So it was good to see everybody kind of get on board with it, and everybody's now built up a good wee bit of momentum. They're all buzzing off of their score that they got. Not quite buzzing that they beat me, but next time I'll give them another chance.
give them another chance, man. Love that one.
But bringing it back to the public gym comment, so I joined the gym group in January when they had like the no joining fee. off or on, and I'd only been once since joining until this week, and then this week I've been there 5 times, and holy fuck, mate, I forgot how mental a public gym is, how mental a place it is. Uh, Obviously, I've been going in the mornings, so it's been the same faces that I've been seeing every single morning. Oh, mate, the amount of half rep prince and princesses in there is mental. Like some of the shit I've seen already, I'm just like, fuck, thank God I don't work here anymore.
It's funny you say that about half repping. Avian, one of the girls I coach, she won a powerlifting competition last year. She's done a few actually, but she was like, I got unsolicited advice by like a guy in his 50s about bench pressing yesterday. And I was like, is this you who's won a powerlifting competition, been judged at the high standards, getting advice? And she's like, the worst thing is half repping things. And I'm like,
Aye.
I'll tell you what, like anyone who doesn't think sexism exists, just there it is. That's what happens. Yeah.
Happens in the gym all the time. All the time. I found it quite hard to know say to him, like, see if you just put the weight down a wee bit and actually fully extended your arm doing a lateral raise or actually stretched at the top of your lat pull down, you probably wouldn't look like 10 pun of shite squeezed into a 5 pun bag.
People don't know what they don't know. Like it is what it is. Like I'm not going to lie, mate. I've been in that position. I've looked back at videos of myself lifting, and at the time I thought it was classmate. And it's only but you don't know what you don't know, mate. You lift,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. But I'll tell you who it was. I'll tell you the two biggest half reppers that I've seen in there, and you'll probably know what I'm talking about. It was two older guys. They were either a drug dealer or a taxi driver, or both. Do you know the people that I mean?
Wearing a wee wife beater as well.
No, it was more of the kind of the Nike t-shirts that were two sizes too small.
Ah, right, okay, yeah, 100%.
Uh, but fair play to them. Do you know what? They were in there every morning, battering away. Um, And that's not an easy thing to do. Even if you are half repping, even if you don't really know what you're doing in the gym, it's not an easy thing to just get up. You need to condition yourself to do it. So fair play to them for that. But yeah, it was an experience. And do you know what? Like I actually quite enjoyed myself. It was nice to have a wee change of scenery. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for that. I'm actually in the process of thinking about changing gyms myself. I'm getting to that point where I'm like, oh, do you know what? I've been where I've been for quite a bit of time now. But the problem is, round about here, all the gyms are shite. Like, it's just like there's tons of gyms. There's about 15 of them in our town, but every single one of them are shite. Like,
Ah,
shite.
you just making your way around them all.
Mate, I've done that. Like, and funny thing is, when you move gym, you then move, and then you see some of the people who you're like, "Oh fuck, you went to the gym I went to, and you've just moved," and then you just follow this cycle of. I'm convinced there's people who think that I'm following them just because we keep going round the same gyms they are. But um, anyway, mate, I have an absolute shit ton to get through with you,
Oh
and I
yes.
don't want to be here till Sunday. As much as I'm very excited to go through your journey, let's get started with things, mate. So. Have you got any lube ready to touch your ankles on this one?
Uh, I could just lip balm.
Kill me. Just for your own experience. Kill me. I'm going to start before we dive into things. A few wee questions because obviously there'll be a lot of people who listen to Fit with Us on a regular basis listen to this. But I'd be keen to know what's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you.
Oh, just anything at all.
If at all, mate.
People would be surprised. Fuck's sake, you really are putting me on the spot here, aren't you?
Sure, I gave you a wee bit of preempting on this.
Uh, I'm an absolutely class skier.
To be fair, I would say I've not seen you ski, albeit I've been on the same holiday simply because I was probably like facing the sky most of the time because I was falling over. So
I think I don't know. That's it's a good question to ask because I feel like I'm quite open and transparent about stuff that I like. You know, I fucking love Lego. My favorite color is purple. Maybe that's one that would catch people by surprise. Yeah. Uh, oh, here's one.
go on,
That's not the one that I've shared very often.
go on.
I toyed with the idea of jumping ship and supporting Celtic when I was younger because I couldn't deal, basically because my pals were Celtic fans at the time. And I tried a Celtic top on and I fucking hated it.
I was about to say, mate, I did actually speak to Sean. He listens to the podcast last night, and I was like, "Oh, I just mentioned in passing that I was speaking to you today." I was like, "Any questions for him?" And he's like, "Why does he support such a shite team?" I did have another question I'll get to, but I was like, "Do you know how much better your life would be? Like, how much more satisfying it'd be? And Thursday wouldn't be your favourite day anymore."
It would not be more satisfying. Absolutely not. I would need to live with the guilt for the rest of my days.
I'm not even going to get into what the guilt is, mate. I'm going to swiftly move on this one. Um, so, second one before we dive into the main crux of it. If your journey was turned into a movie, what would the title be?
Good question. Uh, Somebody asked me this the other week actually, and my answer was "Speaks before he thinks."
That's a movie title, mate. Searching on Netflix. Speaks before he thinks.
Speaks before he thinks. What the fuck's he talking about now?
Cool. Well, we'll roll with that. Speaks before he thinks. What the fuck's he talking about now? Is the
Aye,
subject.
that's his. Aye, one's a prequel or one's a sequel, whatever you want.
Cool, mate. Well, so just for people listening, we're going to dive into the deeper end of your journey and pretty much the way it comes across. I do have a bit of a structure, but obviously, whatever way it goes, it goes. But we'll start pretty much at the point where me and you had met each other. I think we came across each other in college. From the outside looking in, the way that I would look at it is we met in college. You then dropped out of college. There were various jobs, but still ended up in fitness. You fucked off to Australia. You globetrotted for a wee bit. We were still in contact the entire time, but then you came back. You kind of dropped out of fitness, but then we're now back into it, and you're the main man fucking running the show for various different things. So whether that be accurate or not, I'd like to hear your part of it, mate. So let's go back, fucking 2008 Central College, mate. What brought you to Central College back then?
Oh, so it actually goes back a wee bit further than that. When I was in school, I and we've spoken about this on the podcast before. Like, I had no fucking idea what to do because you're a teenager, you don't know what's going on, and I had a decision to make. So I thought I quite enjoy art, I quite enjoy drawing, and I actually wanted to be a graphic designer. So I was sitting at higher graphic communication, and there was a chance that I could go on and do advanced higher graphic communication. But what I found, and this was in fourth and fifth year, what I found was, sorry, this was in fifth year, going into sixth year. What I found was I couldn't stay in one place. Like, I was so antsy, and the thought of like sitting behind a desk for hours on end or behind a computer for hours on end, which is ironically what I fucking do a lot of now. It was not attractive. It was not appealing. So from fifth year going into sixth year, I thought, do you know what? Fuck it. I quite like the idea of growing up, and it was cool kids at the time, see, like working with kids and the big colourful parachute and stuff like that. I quite like the idea of that because I don't ever want to grow up mentally. I know I'm going to have to grow up physically at some point, but mentally, I just want to be a big kid. I just want to run about. Um, I've, I was going to say I've got a thing with kids that can be taken one of two ways. However, what I mean is Rachel can attest to this as well. Like all her friends have got kids, but they all just seem to love me in terms of like I'm the fun uncle. Do you know what I mean? I'm always jumping about, they're climbing over me, I'm fucking having a good laugh with them. So I thought, right, I'm going to go into that line of work. So I get rid of my graphic communications in fifth year and I crash coursed higher PE in sixth year. And my graphic communication teacher fucking flipped the nut at me. Absolutely flipped the nut. He's like, you're thrown away an incredible career to go and run about a football park. Just fucking flipped the nut, right? So I was like, no, do you know what? This is what I want to do. Crash course higher PE, passed it, and then I was like, right, what's next? And that's when Central College of Commerce, it was called at the time. That's when, I went for one of those interview things. It was the only college I applied for. Went for an interview, got it, and then the rest to say is history.
Classmate. So obviously when we got into college,
Mhm.
bring me back to Gary then. I'm pretty sure you had a fucking red streak of dye in your hair at some point, but
I did, mate. I had one of those fucking mohawks, the side mohawks with a V cut. Remember the V cut as well?
I think I had one of them. I just mine's looked a lot worse than yours did, mate. To be fair, but uh, back in 2008, then when you went to Central College of Commerce, as we say, uh, what was the big goals in Gary's head then? What we were thinking?
Um, Honestly, have a good fucking time. Again, I was not 100% sold on what I wanted to do. And because it was a 4-year college course, I was like, I've got plenty of time to decide. I've got plenty of time to choose. Um, what I was led to believe when I was in school was you had to continue education. You had to, go to college and then potentially go to uni. So that's basically all I had my sights set on was enjoy myself, um, meet new people and learn a lot about kind of different careers that I could choose and decide what path I wanted to go down. It wasn't anything, I wasn't like this driven individual. If anything, I was the complete opposite. I was quite lazy when I was a teenager. Just wanted to play my Xbox all the time. Just wanted to go out partying, drinking, try and pull some birds. It was, yeah, the typical kind of teenage boy lifestyle. No drive, no desire to really want to do something. Being a bit of an arsehole as well, to be honest.
Well, I know you're successful at being the arsehole part of it, but how successful would you say you were at pulling the buds, mate?
Rachel listens to this podcast, so
Taking the Fifth Amendment then.
I plead the
You know, it's funny because you and I, for anybody listening, we met at Central College, and I think one of the reasons we had it off actually probably didn't know it at the time. We're both actually there for kind of similar reasons. We both kind of were there because we didn't really know massive amounts about what we want to do. I was the same as you, where I got kind of told you need to continue doing something. So if you want to leave school, so I had to pretty much same as you done a few. Oh, I done a few interviews to get there, but yeah, we had it off, and we as we started getting excited and learning about things, we started training together. I think it was a solid 2 years where we were up in the fit club, Central College Fit Club together training.
Oh, Victor hated us, didn't he?
Oh, yes. It was, do you want to explain what Victor is?
What he is? He's
Yeah,
an
well,
enigma. He's a full-on enigma.
were you there that time where there was blood on the floor and he put it on his finger and licked it?
Aye, and aye, it was either blood or wine, wasn't it? Victor was he Polish? It was
Russian,
Eastern
mate.
European,
Russian.
Russian,
Yeah, yeah, it was Russian, yeah.
and he was an alcoholic. And I'm pretty sure he was an alcoholic.
I don't know, mate. I don't want to offend any Russians, but I think by Eastern European standards, it
Vodka for breakfast.
was.
uh, so he was a very angry man, but he just had these moments where he actually smiled sometimes, and he seemed like such a pleasant person. But he was constantly on a mission, charging about 100 mile an hour. Just fucking hated the sight of us being in the gym because it meant he had to do his job and it's you know what I mean. He had to watch over the gym. If no one was in the gym, then he could just chill. Uh, yeah, definitely an enigma. I'd like to see what he's up to now.
Yeah, mate, I don't know. At 16 years old, I didn't quite understand what he was. But like in hindsight, I realised that probably the reason he was that sporadic was mood because he was half steaming most of the time.
Steaming and hungover. He was just switching between them both.
Yeah, mate, I'm not going to start slating half our lectures and stuff, but I mean, there's stories about quite a bit of them we could go into. Probably best not to do it in on a podcast format. But cool. So, from my understanding, again, you were in college for you said it was a 4 year course. You didn't stay for the full 4 years. Am I right in saying that?
I got 2.5 years in. Done it in. Where did we start? Was it NQ? There was 2 years of
So
NQ
you
level, wasn't there?
yeah.
So I done both NQs and then went into the HNC, and that's when things started getting a wee bit complicated. It started first of all by me getting selected to go to India, remember?
Yep.
So what that meant was it was the boss of the department got to choose, I think, two people from the health and fitness department, and he chose me. I don't know how. Genuinely, I have no idea why he chose me, but anyway, I got chosen. So I had to take 6 weeks out of the course to train for this India thing, and then basically what we did was we went over to Delhi for the Commonwealth Games back in 2010 to accept the Commonwealth flag for Glasgow because Glasgow was bringing it back, and then Glasgow was the next host of the Commonwealth Games in 2014. So we had to go and do like a big performance. Basically, we were dancing on the telly, is essentially what it was. So 6 weeks out of the course for that. Came back from that, and then 2 weeks later, I just happened to be going to Tunisia with my mates for it was a week or 10 days or something like that. Caught salmonella from a dodgy omelette. So that set me back even further because I almost got hospitalised. Couldn't actually make it to the hospital because that was the year. I don't know if you remember it. That was the year that we get pumped with the snow. Everything came to a fucking standstill. The snow was up to our knees, so no ambulance could come and get me. So I suffered with salmonella on my bathroom floor. And it is quite honestly the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my whole entire life. Eventually got better with that. My mum was just pumping me full of Diodolite, just fucking literally holding my nose for me and just pouring it down my neck. So that essentially saved my life. And then after that, no joke, that we went into the Christmas break. So I came back in January. I'd been back a week, and then I broke my fifth metatarsal on my right foot playing football. So I had to cut about with a big moonshone, crutches. Couldn't make it to college for the first kind of 2 or 3 weeks until I was able to actually get on, like put a wee bit of pressure through my foot. And then by that point, I think I'd missed in total like 11, 12 weeks of the course, and we weren't even halfway through the year yet. So had a conversation with Ian, who was the boss of the department, and I said to him, mate, I can't, like, I can't do this. I'll leave and I'll reapply the following year. And I think that's when the colleges merged and
Yeah.
became City of Glasgow. Reapplied and they knocked me back.
Fucking KB'd, mate.
So that was it. That's how I started in college and failed pretty much.
You know, it's funny because, like, I mean, I've got recollections of that, mate. I remember you being there and us being really good mates, and then you kind of not being there for a sustained period of time and going through the rigmarole of everything that happened. It's funny, I've kind of forgot about your leg until you mentioned it, and now I can picture you hobbling in one day, just like you hadn't been there for about 11 weeks, and then you rolled in like the fucking Undertaker, but on a set of pictures. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's Gary," but then you're like, I'm not coming back. We're like, oh fuck, there's Gary going. You're like, it's fine, I'll be there next year. And then next year, Kevin, you weren't there. And I was like, fuck.
Aye.
Um, so when that happened, what was the head like then? What happened?
I pretty lost, mate. Not sure what to do. Ended up just, going into retail work full time because it was easy to do so. I got attracted by the bigger paycheck at the end of the month. Although retail, it was fucking minimum wage. It was a disgraceful paycheck at that time. For me personally, it was a lot of money. So that drew me in. I get sucked right into it. Once I get knocked back from college after reapplying, I thought, well, fuck it. I'm just going to keep working because I had built up a lifestyle that if I dropped my hours and tried to get back into college, then it probably wouldn't have been able to pay for itself, even with like SAS and stuff like that as well, which was an absolute fucking SAS is mental. Like it's just like free money. Um,
Explain to MD who's not from Scotland what SAS is, mate.
it's basically you get paid for going to college essentially. Um, I don't know what it stands for. You get any idea what it stands for? SAS, SAAS.
I think it's fucking something assistance, whatever. But
Aye.
yeah,
So if you're not if you're not well off, I came from a council estate, single mum. Again, I don't think she was working at the time that I applied, and I was only working part time, so I wasn't making a lot of money. And they essentially, it's just like government funding. They pay you for for going to college and stuff like that. So I'd borrowed all this money that I still need to pay back. By the way, I am still in debt with this SAS. Um, and they just kind of take it off me every year or so.
oh mate,
Uh,
did you actually pay it?
I can't not pay it; they take it automatically.
Oft, I was going to say I had well, I had a student loan when I went to uni for a year, mate. My ma's still getting letters from him. I'm like, I'm going to the country. I'm still getting paid.
It's you only start paying it back if you earn over if you earn 20 grand plus, I believe. I could be wrong. So most of the jobs I had were under 20 grand, because it was retail. So they never actually started taking it off me. And then once I started earning it over, They just were taking like wee bits out. But now that I'm self-employed, I don't know what's happening. I think I need to manually pay it, and I haven't.
I used to hear all these fucking myths, mate, that if you move country and all that, like you didn't have to pay it. And I'm like, well,
Aye,
I've not been in Scotland for 10 years, so it's no getting paid. But then I've looked up, and apparently that doesn't exist. Apparently, you do need to pay it. And I'm like, well,
fuck.
you're not going to get it from me if I don't ever declare what I'm earning. It's like a
Aye.
fucking just put the thing in. Yeah, it's not happening. But I googled what SAS meant just for MD because again, my fucking ADHD won't let me. Not Student Awards Agency Scotland.
There you go.
Like,
Absolutely incredible. That's what paid for many a night out in campus for me and you.
I was going to say, mate, remember the time that we went out with like less than a tenner each and we tried to make it a mission just to like. And to be fair, we came home with change. Came home with fucking change. Steaming
Absolutely
and change.
blistered as well.
I remember staying at your house, mate, and looking up at the bus. Like, I mean, we were in the top deck of the bus, and me looking up at the top of the bus and going, "There's something in the roof of the bus." Like,
That's right.
yeah, we're both convinced of it, mate, but we're both just absolutely steaming. That tells you that it wasn't just alcohol in that vodka on campus, but
Oh, mate, aye, 20, 10, 20 quid that used to, and we would be out Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, almost every week.
mate, the prices of things these days, I know it's a different fucking podcast for a different day, but I mean, we were getting a bottle of water just in Spain, come across it, 450, 450 for a bottle of water. I'm like, that's a good night out back in 2008.
100%.
Water, mate. Anyway, look, I think just listen to what you said there, mate. What you got caught up in there with being comfortable in terms of the job, albeit it's not a job that you probably was your most favourite job in the world, but at the same time, it's comfortable in the sense that you're getting, in your opinion, decent money and your
Mhm.
lifestyle starts to adapt to that. A lot of people get stuck in that, not just for the short term, you get stuck in that for the long term. Like you might not be on this podcast if you'd stuck to doing that, one of the top 5% of podcast, mate. But I was going to ask then, so what happened next after that? Whilst we kept in contact, it was a very different style of contact than seeing you every single day. And I think with that, like we would meet up for like the occasional night out or
Mhm.
like birthday, but then every time we spoke to you, it was like there was something different. There was a different job or there was a different thing happening. But then I do remember you getting back into PT, and
Mhm.
it's funny because looking from the outside in again, a lot of us through college were studying a qualification that leads to the most fucking unemployment than any qualification because it actually doesn't get you a PT qualification, ironically. But you, on one hand of it, mate, you pretty much went out and started doing PT before most of us did, mate, and it looked like you were doing very well because I remember just getting into PT myself and going, I'm fucking struggling for clients, and you were telling me how many fucking clients you had and how well you were doing and shit, and I was like, this is how. I remember speaking to you about it. So tell us what was going on then. How did you get back?
Aye. So you're right in what you said, mate. I was going from one job to the other because I didn't stick any longer than 2 years at a job. I think the longest I stuck at a job was 1 year and 8 months, and it was the job that I was doing before taking my PT qualification course. It was in a chemical plant. It was a solid job. It was cushy, I was working Monday to Friday, couldn't really complain, decent wage. Um, but it was monotonous and I was working outdoors, so I was freezing cold, I was roasting hot, and I was like, I'm 24, 25 years of age, and the guy that was working next to me, Jerry, he's like, that Gary, I'm like working here until I retire. I'm old. He's like, what are you doing here? Go out, go and fucking enjoy yourself. He went, this isn't a place for somebody your age. So he kind of spurred me on, and I was like, do you know what? You're fucking right, mate. I'm going to go for it. And by this time, like, I'd still been training and stuff like that. I'll be completely honest with you, like, no idea what I was doing in the gym, no idea what I was doing with nutrition. Still thought fucking pasta was protein and banana was protein. Do you know what I mean? So ridiculous. Um, so I looked up that fast track 6 week PT course. Can't remember the name of the company that I did it with. Signed up to it. I was like, fuck it. Signed up to it. I went, let's just pay it off all in one go. I think it cost me £3,200. If I was to pay that up over a year or 2 years, I think it like almost doubled. So I was like, nah, fuck it. I took out a bank loan to pay it off. Paid it off in one go. Thank God I took out the bank loan as well because that was a 6 week course. And then basically they are. linked to like the likes of Pure Gym and the gym group and stuff like that. So they actually got me into Pure Gym in Paisley after I passed the course, which I passed first time by the way. And then that was me. Started in, I believe it was November, around about November 11, um, 2015. I can't remember, 2015, 2016. And then I didn't make my first penny until February the following year. So I was working for like 4 months or doing shit 4 months with no money coming in. One of the most stressful periods of my life. I'm not going to lie. I ended up with psoriasis and stuff like that. If anybody doesn't know what psoriasis is, it's like a skin condition. You go all dry, your skin starts kind of flaking, you go all itchy. I had it on my scalp, it was all on my face. I had to wear this, I had to put this lacquer on. It was like a big tub, a jelly basically, and I just had to lather myself in it. But that tells you how stressed I was at the time, and I was like, do you know what? That's when the drive started to come in because I was like, no, I am fucking making this work. Like, I am not paying £3,000 to then go fuck it after 3 months because I've not made a penny. Started to learn a wee bit more about business, started to learn off of the PTs and stuff that I was working with in the gym. And then, yeah, put myself out there a wee bit, started doing loads of PT sessions for free. Really focused on the classes that I was doing in the gym, like really, really focused on them because it's free advertising. And then the clients just kind of started coming in off the back of that. I think at one point, I was doing, upwards of 35, 40 PT sessions a week. So yeah, I got quite successful, mate. I was quite a popular PT in that gym. Um, Still not as good a PT as what I believe I am now. I just gift of the gab, I guess, got me to where I was. And aye, it was good fun. It was good fun, but I'll tell you what, Pure Gym Paisley is a fucking cesspit.
Go further into that, mate. Explain. What do you
Oh
mean?
mate, just a fucking mental place. But I don't know who was worse, the fucking members or the coaches. I'm not going to lie. We had one coach who was just a compulsive liar. Just a compulsive liar. Used to come in and say, "Oh, he's got to pick up his new Audi at the weekend," and then it never transpired because it wasn't true. We had another coach who would fill your locker full of bird seeds, and when you opened it, it would all fall out. Um, he actually, that same coach, I'm not naming names, but what he did was we had a B&M next door to us, and he went into B&M and bought dog chocolate. And he opened the dog chocolate packet and put it on the table upside down so the PTs were coming in and eating a wee bit of this chocolate all day. Uh,
Tremendous. You need more of
uh,
that person in life. I tell you what.
just a fucking nutter. He put a dog bone. Actually, it was Scott that I work with now. His bag had a rip in it, like a tear, and the guy that I'm talking about, the PT, went into B&M and got like a wee dog bone, like a wee treat toy thing, and he put it in the rip of the bag. So
Yeah.
Scott's bag was stinking, and he couldn't find what was happening, where it was coming from. So it was just a mad place. You had members selling steroids on the floor. You had ex drug dealers coming in. One guy that had actually just come out of jail and he was not, quiet about it. Who he was inside prison for owning guns and stuff like that. And he used to come in and he was quite evidently PTing his pals in the gym. But we were all too fucking scared to go up and tell him we couldn't do it. So we just left him to it.
Who's going to say it to me? Like, even today, mate, like when I owned a gym, if somebody like that came into my gym and started PTing, I was like, yeah, you work here now, that's fine.
I'm actually paying you to come in here now, mate.
It's all right, mate. Do you know what? I think it's probably worthwhile going into that a wee bit because you mentioned a few decent topics there. So, first 4 months of your PT career, mate, you didn't make a penny. I think a lot of people can look at like personal training and stuff and go, "Oh, you get to stand about in your shorts and you get to whatever." I'm like, PTs, if you're good at it, there's two different camps, right? So you're either a fitness instructor, which isn't really a PT. A fitness instructor is somebody who's employed by a company, and you essentially what you do is gym induction. So anybody who's new takes them in, you do sales, you clean gym equipment, and you're there for pretty much health, safety, and insurance purposes. But you don't actually make money from any personal training. It's very rare you make money from personal training, and if you are, then the club's usually taking a big split of it. Then you get PTs. PTs don't work for the place, but they either pay rent or they have to work for free, certain amount of hours, usually as a model, in a gym. But with that, you're responsible for making your own income. So you're getting paid by money just for personal training.
Yeah.
Very difficult when you don't have any sort of proof that you know what you're doing. You don't have any sort of relationships in the gym. Very difficult. When you actually, to be fair, you're finding your own feet. You don't actually know what works and what doesn't. Like, and don't know what your opinion is on PT courses, but I was like, you fucking learn next to nothing on them, which
Dog shit.
actually leaves you more confused. Don't
Absolute dog shit. Honestly, one of the worst courses I've ever done in my life. Everything I know and understand now, I learned none of that in this 6 week course. It's so outdated. It is so backwards what you're learning in those courses. It is you learn what you need to learn to pass the paper, or pass the exam, sorry, and then they just open the doors and go, right, go. You're free. You're a PT now. See you later. Which is why the industry is so fucked, and this is something that me and you obviously have very strong opinions of because it is so unregulated. You're learning what you need to learn to pass an exam. You're not actually learning what you need to learn to be a good PT, to be a good person, to be a good coach.
I used to have this conversation with my ma actually when I was at college and uni because I was like, this is a lot of shite. Like I was
Mm,
doing, like me, I used to subscribe, as you know, to every fucking magazine going. And at the time, I didn't know how good they were, but there was Flex magazine, Muscle and Fitness, Men's Health, Men's Fitness. Mate, I used to get every single one of them every month and read as much as I could. But I know coaching people, I was like, what I was learning in college and in uni, so it's not dissimilar to a PT course, mate. It's like you're learning about the left atrium and right ventricle, mate, and fucking 15 years later, I'm still wondering when I'm going to use that. Um,
mm,
it was always funny when they were teaching you how to tell people how to squat, and I'm like, if somebody didn't actually, like, so you tell somebody how to squat, whilst there's some people who can do that picture perfect, I'm like, what happens when you get somebody who, when you tell them how to squat the way that you learn it in college or uni, they don't do that? And it's like,
yeah.
at that point, they don't teach you how to get around that. Like, there's no prescription for somebody who can't actually squat. Like, I'm not saying that you have to squat, it's just more of a, like, you learn next to nothing. So, mate, it is a very difficult period, and I can completely get that with that 4 months, and fair play for you for sticking to it
No,
because
it's horrible, man.
what I was going to say, mate, you probably learned a lot about yourself at that point, though, as well. Like your ability to be able to grind things out.
I would agree with that. I was in the gym for, upwards of 12 to 13, 14, sometimes even 15 hours a day, just try to learn, try to soak in as much as I could, try to speak to as many people as I could. I was living on rice and beans because it's all I could afford. I was going to B&M next door, buying a packet of rice, buying a tin of beans, and they had like jars of peppers that were, roasted red peppers. And that was my dinners because tuna sometimes as well. What
I
we
was
got
going
to
to say,
say?
to be fair, mate, at the time you probably still thought there was protein in rice, mate, so you were all right. You were
A
hitting
hundred
your
percent, mate.
goals.
I was like, fucking bulking gains. No, it was a very tough period, but you know what? I'm so glad that it happened because, like you said, I did learn a lot about myself. I learned that I can stick with things when times get hard, when times get difficult, instead of doing what I usually do and just run away and try and find something new. I can actually grind it out and see myself through to the end outcome rather than just being a pussy.
Yeah, I'd be a busy class, mate. I, I'm here for that. So from that point, mate, obviously you spent how long did you spend doing PT before you fucked off?
I was a year and 8 months as well, believe it or not.
Yeah, 8 months.
So, actually, no, I lied. It was a bit closer to 2 years. So I started November time, my God, 2015, and I left October 2017. So it was almost 2 full years PTing. First year was just building the business, building my knowledge, building the confidence. Second year was doing everything I could to put as much money away to go traveling as possible. So, yeah, it was just constant grinding back in the day.
Right, cool. Well, speak to me about what happened next then, because from my perspective, I had fucked off myself. I'd moved to Ireland at this point, and the next thing I seen from you outside the PT was a Facebook post at the time, back when Facebook was almighty. But I was going to say, I seen a Facebook post from you, and it was like, right, we're off on our travels, and it wasn't just you, mate. There was you and somebody else that we didn't know about. And I was like, where did this
Ah,
come from? So speak to us about what was happening then.
well, it was actually 40 as it went.
Was there?
Aye.
I don't know, mate. I was more interested in the other person we didn't know about that Gary seemed to be very close to.
You're talking about Rachel here, aye.
Yeah, I'm talking about her, yeah.
Funny. Rachel was actually one of my clients in the gym. Um, and without going into too much detail, things didn't quite work out for her personally. And what she was doing with her life. And then 5 weeks, I think it was 5 weeks, maybe 4 weeks before I left, I'd had the tickets booked for something like 9 months. So I was gone regardless. I was going with my two mates, Gav and Rita. Um, and then 4 or 5 weeks before we left, Rachel was like, "Fuck it, I need a fresh start. I need to get away from everything. I'm coming." She didn't just invite herself. I did say to her, by the way, like, come ways, just we're going over to Australia. We're going to just go for a wee bit of traveling. We're going to go start again. Um, and then, yeah, just before I left, she's like, right, fuck it, let's go. A lot going on, like I said, a lot going on personally for her, and it was a lot of stress, and she just had to remove herself from the situation. And I mean, I think it's been one of the best decisions she's ever made in her life because, aye, Gary
Time,
Rachel Jr. is going to be here in a few weeks.
time will tell me. So, what was the thought process then? Did you move? Well, you said obviously you're going to go fresh start and traveling,
Yep.
but was the intention that you were just going and you had no intentions of coming back, seeing what was happening, or was there a set time period you were giving yourself, or what was the thought process?
It was a very loose plan. When we went, we were on the 1 year visa, and at that time, you still had to do your 3 months farm work to then get a second year visa. It's all changed now, but that was it. That was the rules and regulations at the time. So all four went. We all landed in Melbourne. Took us about a week to kind of regulate our body clock and stuff like that. I know you know what that's like as well. We went for a nap on the second day and we slept for 14 hours, all 4 days. It was great.
Solid nap,
Um,
that is.
Mental, mate. So we ended up splitting up. Gavin and Rita were like, "Oh, we want to go up the East Coast. We want to, get that Greyhound bus ticket." Basically, the East Coast is just, if you've never been to Australia, it's just where all the backpackers go. It's full of partying, the Austin hostels. Me and Rachel had a different um, vision in our head, shall we say. We met up with a boy that I used to work with in the Radisson Hotel back in Glasgow. He'd moved over there. I think he was in his third year of his visa. We met up with him for a pint and stuff like that. And he's told us, he's like, buy a car, put a bed in the back, and drive around the country. So when he told us that, me and Rachel were like, that's what we want to do. We don't want to get a one-way fucking Greyhound bus ticket and spunk our money up the East Coast. So Gavin and Rita went east, me and Rachel went west. And we're like, are we fucking doing this? And we were like, yeah, let's go. Let's buy a car and we'll go and drive around the country. And that's exactly what we did. There was no time limit on it. We were just having to be sure that we had to get everything done before the year visa ran out. I think after 5 months or something like that, money was tight. So actually, it was after maybe 4 months, money was tight. So we were like, right, time to get a job. We ended up working a potato farm, which was good in South Australia. Made more money in those 3.5 months than I've ever done, I think, in my life. That 3.5 months on a potato farm paid for a whole year of traveling, and we still went home with money. It was absolutely incredible. But don't get me wrong, we were doing like 18, 20 hour days. We were definitely doing illegal shit, but we were getting paid for it, so fuck it.
I was going to say, go back to the potato farm, mate, for 3 months a year. That sounds like it's.
Mate, honestly, I think that's why we wanted to eventually go back. We'll get to this later, but that's why we wanted to go back because just I know it's expensive to live in Australia, but you get the money to help you pay for that expensive living. Do you know what I mean? It was mental. Could not believe how much money we were making. And then that allowed us to then go up the East Coast eventually because we'd already done the whole through the middle of Australia, Ayers Rock, Alice Springs, up to Darwin, and then we came all the way down the West Coast, into Perth, right along the South Coast. and that's when we got the job. And then we went up the East Coast, finished it off, sold the car in Cairns, and then we flew to Southeast Asia for about 3.5 months.
Yeah, you went to Southeast Asia and then you were in Canada. Is it straight to Canada after that?
No, no, we came home. So we spent 3.5 months in Southeast Asia. Bali, the usual, Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines. Just done a whole fucking journey. It was absolutely incredible, amazing. And then we flew back to the UK, back to Scotland for 11 months, because we had four weddings in the space of that 11 months. So, and it was all friends that we couldn't miss. We could not miss their weddings. So we came back. Um, got a night shift job in Sainsbury's because at the time one of my best mates was a manager there, so he managed to hook us up with a wee job. Uh, Horrible. Do not recommend working night shift to anybody. And then after the 11 months, we managed to save up enough money and apply for a Canadian visa, which came through very, very quickly. And then that was it. We jumped ship over to Canada, and that was us for like 2.5 years, man.
2.5 years Canada. I think over that time, we did get chatting a good bit. We were talking on Facebook Messenger.
Mhm.
Went for a wee Zoom call. Back when we were in lockdown, you were embracing the top knot. At the
Oh
time,
yeah.
I hadn't seen you I hadn't seen you like live, and I think the first time you were in Zoom, you had this fucking Gareth Bale top knot on, and I was like, "What's going on here?"
Aye. Oh,
Suppose
to put this into context just quickly, when I was in Australia, I said to Rachel, right, fuck it, I'm going to not shave my beard the whole time I'm away. And I came back from Australia and Southeast Asia with a beard down to here, but the way my beard grows, it comes straight down, so it looked like an Amish beard or something like that.
yeah.
So and I don't get, if you're not watching, have a look at the screen. I don't get facial hair here, nothing here, and this just kind of grows over my top lip and then doesn't go any further. Whereas this goes straight down. So it was a big block beard down to here. It was great. And then when I went to Canada, I went, I'm not fucking doing that again. I'll grow my hair. I'll no cut my hair. And I ended up with this big, massive like man bun. But because my hair is so straight, it just I had to end up shaving it off. I had enough of it after about a year and a bit.
We'll need to get your editing skills and a photo of you with the
Oh,
top knot on. Need to throw that in somewhere.
fuck. How long have we been recording? Have you got it? So I
Uh,
can see.
it's about 40 minutes at the moment.
Right, okay. I'll look for
Um,
it.
but yeah, no, I think after that point, obviously lockdown happened. What was life like when lockdown happened in Canada?
Aye, pretty bizarre because when we moved to Canada, we bought a van. So because we'd done the whole car thing in Australia, we thought let's go to Canada, and we'll upgrade. We'll actually buy a van, something that we've got a bit more room in, we've got a bit more storage. So yeah, we bought ourselves a van off of an English couple. They'd already, I mean, it'd already been converted from a minivan into a camper. But what we did, man, is we just fucking ripped everything out. Like we started again. We just kept the wooden frame for the bed, and we just started again from scratch. Um, so yeah, lockdown happened. We got to Canada September, or it was either September or October before COVID hit. When did COVID hit? 2021?
2020, March 2020 was the original one.
Was it right? So we got to Canada 2019, um, and then COVID hit as we were living in the van. So we didn't have anywhere to go. They closed all the supermarkets, they closed all the truck stops. So we had nowhere to piss, poo, and shower, basically. And it was such a mental time. We had to queue up for half an hour outside a Walmart because they were just like they were letting, two people in at a time, all that carry on. Half an hour to go for a pee. And it was just such a mental time. Luckily, though, I went to an agency, because we were like, well, we're going to need to do something. We need to work. Our money's just fading. We're not able to go anywhere. We need to get a job. So, both started on Amazon. For Christmas, I get let go. Um, and it was during that time that COVID started. Just as I get let go from Amazon that COVID hit. properly and they went into full lockdown. So Rachel was still working in Amazon. I was in the van myself. She was fucking paying for us both. I was in the van myself. Couldn't go anywhere because the whole place was in lockdown. Um, Eventually I went into an agency. And I said to them, I need a job. Have you got anywhere that's close to this area? They hooked me up with a wee factory job, which was decent. And the boss of that factory allowed me and Rachel to use the showers and stuff like that. So, um, I all kind of worked out in the end, but it was just such a mental experience. We were parked in the same Walmart car park for about 4 months, five, maybe even 5 months, because we couldn't go anywhere. We just sat in the same spot in a Walmart car park. Nobody bothered us. We were just bored out of our fucking minds because we couldn't go anywhere. But the most important thing was we still had our health and um, health is your wealth, as they say.
Health is your wealth. Obviously, a few experiences in there. And I'd say again, one of those things that, like, whilst it's probably not the most ideal thing to happen, probably learn a lot about yourself
Oh, aye.
in that period of time. So, what sparked you coming home then? What was happening?
Visa ran out.
Right.
So yeah, going back to just quickly when the lockdown happened, um, Canada's so vast and so big that they have provincial borders rather than just like Scotland and England just has one border basically. But Canada has borders within the country and it's all different provinces and states, whatever. Um, so they'd all closed as soon as those borders were open. We fucking booked it out west. Like we were like, no, we need to go out west. There's a lot more, freedom out there. So we booked it out west and we made it all the way to Vancouver. And then COVID was still happening. We were still having to wear our masks and shit. Uh, but they were just a bit more lax with the rules of, locking people in the house and stuff like that. So we ended up getting a job on a ski resort, Christmas 2021. Aye, that would have been 20. No, no, sorry, that would have been 2020. That would have been that would have been 2020. So we were on the um ski resort working for the season, which was honestly one of my favourite jobs that I've ever had in my life. Skiing every day, dealing with arseholes. Western Canada's where all the money is, so it's quite snobby, and they kind of look down their nose at you and stuff like that. So I had a few run-ins with a few snobs. Which was a laugh, but that's stories for another time. And then yeah, like we decided, right, our visa's starting to run out. We need a decision to make. Oh, I also caught COVID when I was out west. And because we were living in a van and I tested positive for COVID, the government put me and Rachel up in a hotel. So they did for like 4 weeks. Because me and Rachel had to separate for the first 2 weeks. So.
Did you have to test for your job, or did you just test yourself because you were feeling it?
No, we went to Wendy's. You know what Wendy's is, a fast
Yeah,
food burger. We went to Wendy's and I got a double baconator and I tasted none of it.
that's not right, mate. I'd be asking for
Oh.
money back on that burger.
I was like, Rachel, I can't taste any of this. So we went to like a drive-through testing facility and they phoned me the next day. You've got COVID, you need to isolate. I'm like that. I live in a van. I've no toilet. What do you want me to do? They actually left me for another 2 or 3 days after that. I
That's
was, it was horrible, mate. This might be a wee bit TMI, but because I couldn't go anywhere, I literally had to hold a shit in for 3 days. And I was peeing in like a 4 litre water bottle. It was not a nice experience, and it was actually Rachel's test results when she got the phone call to say she was negative. It was Rachel that went like that. By the way, like my partner's positive. We live in a van. We're in a Walmart car park. What am I supposed to do? I ended up putting us up in a hotel for like 4 weeks. Drove into the car park. Sorry, the hotel's car park, and there was these people standing full hazmat suits and all that coming to pick me up. It was mental, and then we had to separate for the first 14 days. Um, it was just a mad experience, mate. Just fucking mental. But then after that is when we got the job on the ski resort, and then I had the most fun. Honestly, it was just amazing. It all kind of worked out. That way, just mad shit happens, but good shit comes from it. You know what I mean? So after the season was done, we spent a wee bit more time in Vancouver because the summer was lovely. Booked it all the way out to Nova Scotia because the visa was running out. So we made it all the way to Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. And then we went back to Toronto, sold the van, and then that was it. Like we tried to stay longer, but Canada is very expensive. Genuinely very, very expensive. So the money was going rapid, and we had to just bite the bullet and come home.
Think when you came home, there was a few things you touched on. You went sober, right? You weren't drinking at that time.
Aye.
Saying that. You were feeling a little bit under the weather in terms of you weren't feeling your best self in terms of where you were with your health and fitness, and then you also from a health and fitness standpoint, because obviously the entire journey is the fact that you got yourself back into health and fitness, but probably fair to say that you don't want to say fell out of love with it, but you just there was no intentions of getting back into health and fitness at the time. Would that be fair? Yeah, yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about kind of where you were and what the kind of mindset was at that time?
Aye. So when I came back from Canada, I know this is cliche and stuff like that, but I had the full travel bug in me. I was like, this is fucking amazing. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to travel. I want to go and see the world. I'd actually started a YouTube channel as well, a wee travel YouTube channel. Um, that's me plugging that there as well. Do it. It's shite. It's pish, but go and have a look at it. It's a good laugh. I'll link it actually in the show notes so you can go and have a wee nosy at it. All right. Um, so I was full on, kind of had the travel bug, and I found it really difficult coming to terms with, right, it's time to start kind of settling a wee bit, because we had actually planned to go back to Australia after Canada. The only thing that was stopping us was COVID. Basically fucked us because at the time you had to be under 31 years old to apply for a working holiday visa on a British passport. And during COVID, when we were going to apply, Rachel turned 31. So we were going to apply before Rachel's 31st birthday, but they'd actually stopped all applications because of COVID. And then they lifted the restrictions after Rachel had already turned 31. So we had to come home, and there was talks between, I can't remember who was Prime Minister at the time, fucking Boris, I think. But they came to an agreement with Australia saying that they were going to increase the age for British passport holders to 35. So we came back for Canada. We're like, fucking excellent. Let's just sit tight, wait on this happening. And then we got an email saying it could take up to a year. So we were like, fuck, do we have a year to wait? Blah, blah, blah. So on Rachel's next birthday, May the 1st, I think she was going to be 32 or 33 at the time. Um, we met Bear. That's when Rachel's auntie phoned Rachel and said, "Look, I've got a dog that needs rehomed, and if he doesn't get rehomed, he's basically gone to the kennels." So we met Bear on Rachel's. Sorry, we met Bear 2 weeks before Rachel's birthday, and then on Rachel's birthday, May the 1st, that's when we decided to adopt Bear. So that's when things started to get a bit real that we were, stuck at home, shall we say? And then, no joke, mate, June the 1st, they changed the ages for Australia. 1 month. But that's the thing, like Australia's always going to be there. Do you know what I mean? We rehomed there. We're giving them an absolutely fantastic life. Fuck, you just get very blue there, man.
I pressed the wrong button by accident there, so I changed the colour in the background there.
So yeah, we ended up adopting Bern, and that's when things started to kind of set in that we were going to stay at home. But when I came back from Canada, I don't know if anybody knows this, weed is now legal in Canada. You can walk into a shop, you can buy it, and you can smoke it on the street, basically. So it's fair to say that me and Rachel got a wee bit addicted to weed. That was one of the main reasons that I gave up booze, because when I was mixing booze with weed, I was blacking out, couldn't remember what was happening. So I kept up the weed, gave up the booze. When you're Because of my poor relationship with food and the food noise that I've got going on in my head, weed's probably not the best thing for me, because when you get the munchies, or when I get the munchies, I get the fucking munchies. Came back from Canada, the heaviest I've ever been in my life at that point. I was 84 kilo. I just looked and I just felt like a bag of shit. Hadn't trained properly in, you could probably say, 5 or so years, since I was actually a PT. And then when we decided that we were going to stay at home, that's kind of when I reached out to you, Kyle.
Yeah, I do remember the message because I'm notoriously bad at getting back to people's messages full stop. So I think we were in the midst of a conversation because I think Rangers were actually doing pretty well at the time. So to be fair, mate, when I seen your messages come through, I was like, oh, I can't deal with another one of these coming through about just talking about how good yous are and how shit. Not in a gloating way. It was just mostly we were talking about like
Yeah.
state of Scottish football, and I was like, just not in the mood for this. So I was like, I seen the message come through, and I was like, you know what, I'll give that, because I think we're at the point where we're sending each other like 3 or 4 messages at a time, just because we're both guilty of
Mhm.
not sending. But anyway, I think you'd messaged like once, but then you followed up a few days later going, "Hi mate, genuinely need a bit of help at the moment. Can you send a message back?" I was like, "Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? I need to get in contact." So we jumped on a call, and obviously you touched on a few of the things going on. But yeah, I think at the time when you had spoke to us, there was a little bit up in the air where you were like, still are planning on traveling again, but I need
Mhm.
to get myself sorted. We've been enjoying ourselves for a bit, but you know what? I need to start feeling myself again. So, obviously, you went through the process of getting yourself in shape. There was, I think, the major goal for you is you were doing that Spartan, wasn't
Martin.
it? Spartan with Rachel. Um,
Aye.
so you done that, and then after that, I think you were like you noticed obviously that you could lose a good bit of weight and were starting to feel a lot better yourself. You were like, I want to push myself to do a photo shoot, which mate, you absolutely smashed. You've done that. You've got the fucking pictures to prove that. I think the conversation between me and you was always because in my head, mate, and like again, I'm never going to never try and push my own ideas on people, but I'm like, fucking Gary's got every attribute to be good at health and fitness. And I think at the time you were going through a few different jobs. I think you were working in M&S and you were doing a few things, and I was kind of like, without saying to me, fucking get back in and give it a go. It was very much a case of like, would you be open to maybe, because I mean, even from a perspective of leading from the front, mate, you were doing everything. And I was like, you're good at speaking to people. You're enthusiastic about what you do. You were like, well, all the love in the world. You were fucking hating the job that you were in at the time. And I was like, why don't you just get back into it? And then I think the first couple of times, I might have planted a seed, but I think the first couple of times you were like, nah, it's just not for me. Not fancying it. We're still planning on traveling. I don't want to get myself tied down. And like, I was going, why don't you do a wee bit of online stuff? And I think like, quite naturally you were like, well, if we do go traveling, like, I don't really want to be tied to having to get Wi-Fi connections and all that. But anyway, long story short, you did get back into health and fitness. Can I ask what the thought process it was when kind of what was it a moment or was it something that happened that you were like, right, I'm going to start making steps to getting back towards it? What was the thought process?
Um, it was you basically. It 100%. 90% you, 10% me. Since you had planted that seed, obviously you were saying to me, do this, or you should try it, you should try it, you should try it. And I was like, nah, nah, nah. What I kept thinking about was the amount of work that I had to do previously when I was a PT at building myself up to a point where I was bringing in a decent monthly wage. And I was like, I just don't have the time to be able to do that this time round. And then I was like, I had a wee chat with Rachel and I was like, do you know what? Like, should I try it? And she shared the same views as you. She was like, "Look, you're fucking leading for the front. You're passionate about it. Why don't you just do it?" And then that's when I started to, that's when the seed started to blossom. You were right. I was working in M&S at the time. I was contracted to back shifts, so I was starting at 2, I was finishing at 10. It was not an ideal job. Like me and Rachel were passing ships in the night. She was still working in her, she's a dental nurse, so she works Monday to Friday, 9 till 6, fucking just straight up. So because I was starting at 2, finishing at 10, I wasn't getting to see her essentially. And I was like, do you know what? It might give me a bit more freedom to see Rachel a bit more. If we are going to go traveling, I can do it on the move. I can do it for a laptop. I can do it for a phone if I do the online coaching. So I started dipping my toe in, um, run about. In fact, I remember it. It was May again, and I was like, "Fuck it." No, was it April? It might have been April. It might have been the month before we adopted Bear. April 1st is when I opened up my Instagram. I was like, right, I'm going to open up this Instagram. I'm going to start just making videos about, me, my journey, talking about stuff that I'm confident talking about. And then it just fucking snowballed from there, mate. It just went absolutely nuts. And yeah, now look at me. I've been able to, buy my own house off the back of it. I know obviously it's not just me that's bought the house, but it's allowed me to financially, What's the word I'm looking for?
Be comfortable.
Collab, financially collaborate with Rachel. So we first house together. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, mate, it's been a mad experience, and that's been almost 2 years now since I got back into the health and fitness industry, and it has just been an absolute blur.
How did you find? So, one of the things that stuck out to me there is obviously you talked about one of the biggest barriers to you getting back into it was the fact that you thought quite understandably that you had to do the same work
Hmm.
at the first time, which again we touched on it. 4 months of not getting any pay. It's very difficult to do. You need to do a lot of things that, like, again, free work to start off with. But with how the world has adapted and Instagram and everything else, how did you find things getting back into it then? Like, what was your initial thoughts? Like, what was your feelings on that?
Um, Not as hard as what I thought it was going to be because I still had that full-time job. So I was just doing the online stuff on the side. I was not expecting to make any money for upwards of 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Um, so because I'd already had that in my head that that was the expectation, then I wasn't feeling like I was under pressure. I wasn't feeling like I was letting myself down. I was just taking it at my own kind of leisurely pace, doing things when I could, making content, messaging people. Um, And because I didn't feel that pressure, I think that's what really helped kind of propel me forward. If I was constantly, sleepless nights because I was worried about money, then I think that would have been a bit of a hindrance, shall we say. I might have given up before I'd even given myself a chance to get started. So having that full-time job definitely helped, but it then got to the point where the full-time job was the hindrance. And I spoke to Rachel and I was like, look, do you mind if I hand my notice in? I think it's time for me to go, pedal to the floor, just fucking balls to the wall, all in on online coaching. Um, Safe to say that the thought of dropping a full-time wage uh, wasn't taken very well, shall we say? But after a wee bit of back and forth and a wee bit of, just kind of level-headed chat, then yeah, she was fully behind me, and that's what really kind of spurred me on. The amount of help that you gave me in the process as well is, I don't think I'll ever be able to kind of pay you back for that. So I just had everything set up in the right place before I handed my notice into M&S. Like I made sure everything was in place before I just went for it, rather than what I did previously. Left my full-time job, done a 6-week crash course, and then I was like, fuck, what do I do now?
I think there's a few things themes wise that have come up throughout, no matter what it is you've done. Your ability to be able to graft, like whether it be PT, whether it be in Australia, Canada, whatever it is, your ability to be able to kind of withstand and be resilient to tough times, mate. Again, is one of the reasons. Like, there's no point in this entire thing that you've touched on. It's been easy. Like, you've very much tasted the success, mate, and that's only because you've managed to stick with the tougher times. It would have been easy at any point, like the first 4 months you PT, or even like let's go straight back to what we touched on. You're at college, you dropped out, got comfortable with salary. Like you could have easily dropped out, not done anything. Like you might not even decided to go and traveling at that point. Decided to get back into it. Then you go to Canada, or sorry, you go to Australia. Like it could have been easy when you spot up your pals to go, do you know what? Actually, they're having a great time, and we're not actually doing what we want to do. It's a risk getting the car and putting the bed in. It might not have worked out, but you were willing to take that risk. Going over to like back home again, you might have been like, well, do you know what? It's actually very difficult to save up the money. We're getting comfortable back home again. A lot of people do. You didn't. Went to Canada, same thing. COVID, could have came home, decided it wasn't. You knew what you wanted. You stuck with it. You held in a shit for 3 days. We didn't mention it on the podcast, but there's been points where you've had to shit yourself on buses beside people. Like there's been points of it that's not been pretty. You've got back home again, could have stuck to M&S, whatever job it was, because it's the easy way to get a mortgage, what most people do. But like, there's a reason that most people don't enjoy where they are, and it's because you need to withstand those tough times. And one of the things I would say, it's always stuck with me, mate, with you is like you are your authentic self, mate. What you get is what you see. And I think when you do apply yourself to anything, mate, I've said that, it's fucking like you'll do well at it, albeit it's not going to be easy. I think one of the great things about seeing your Instagram when you're putting content and stuff out is the fact that you are yourself, mate. there's always something useful you can take from it, but you go, fuck, there's Gary being his transparent self, mate, and it's great to see. Albeit it's quite easy to rip you for certain things, but like it's good to see you on that as well. But it
I'll
leads
tell
to
you what, like just hold that thought just a second. I would say that's the biggest thing that I've noticed about myself, and you know, it's been the biggest improvement that I've noticed about myself. Sorry, is how less I care about things, and I don't mean I don't give a fuck about anything. I mean personally. You'll remember this when I was at college, or maybe you won't, but I used to take everything to heart. I used to get so offended by the silliest things. If somebody slagged me, I would get defensive. If somebody said anything bad or wrong to me, or what I perceived to be bad or wrong, I would get super defensive. Whereas now, I'm a lot more relaxed. I've grown up. I've matured. And I think it took for me to actually remove myself from the country, not just the situation, from the country, to realize how toxic a mindset that I really had. I know I'm driven. I know if I set my mind to something, I can do it. But personally, there was a lot of shit going on in here, and I didn't realize that until I'd taken myself away from that environment. Now you can slag me to your fucking, I don't know, to your blue in the face, and it's not going to affect me the same way that it did back then. Like I I was quite an aggressive person back then. I was very sarcastic. I can be sarcastic now, but I do it differently. I'm not an evil bastard when I do my sarcasm, right? I like to have a bit of a laugh now, but back then I was doing it um, to make myself feel good because I felt shite in myself. So I would make somebody else feel bad. I would be sarcastic to somebody else. I would treat somebody bad to make myself feel bad, to make myself feel good. Sorry. Whereas it's completely flipped on its head now because I've got a more better understanding of what's actually going on internally, and what's actually going on kind of, you know, run about me. Like we are the leaders of our own destiny. I fully believe that. I know shit can happen that kind of knocks you off kilter a wee bit. But at the end of the day, like you are still in complete control of how you act, how you behave, how you treat others, how you respond to others' comments or beliefs, and really what direction you want to take your life in.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you answered it fucking beautifully. One of the questions I had here, without asking it, I was one of the questions I put down was when you came home. Did you see anything different in a different light coming home, negatively or positively? And I'll give you an example on that. Like when I went to Australia or lived in Edinburgh for a couple of years, I went to Australia, and like even living in Ireland, like a lot of things that you think are shit growing up, like you get stuck in your own bubble. Like I was like, Glasgow's shite, there's nothing there. You always think things are better, brighter, and everything else. It's only when you go somewhere else and you actually get time to sit down and look at yourself and you go, actually, do you know what? A lot of what I'm feeling shit is actually to do with me. It's nothing to do
Yeah.
with anything else. And you actually come home and you view things in a different light. And albeit like I never viewed myself as ever living in Glasgow. I've kind of stuck with that since I've been very young. I was like, I was never going to live there. Whether it be, I had in my head America clearly and didn't make it that far. But like, I came home from Australia and literally looked at everything in a new light. Like, generally, as if somebody had put on a different filter, and I was like, fuck, you know what? Everything is slightly different. The way I approach things, different. The maturity that comes alongside it.
Yeah.
Still, obviously, learning every day, but I'm probably going to, like, just to give context, that what do you answered a lot of it, mate, but is there anything else that you see coming home, like, in a negative or positive light in terms of.
The main thing, like I said, was me personally, but I never realized how much of a people pleaser I was until I left. Um, I was I was craving acceptance. I was craving um uh fuck, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, bear with me. Appraisal, I guess I want to say, from my mates, like just a pat in the back. You know, just I didn't like the thought of maybe someone not liking me. It used to fucking make me feel terrible. Whereas when I come back, it's not that I didn't care. It was just more so like, do you know what? I need to stop acting like a chameleon. I need to stop dressing certain ways to please other people because it's not who I am in myself. Um, that is the main thing that I realized. I would say like how much of a chameleon I was before I left, how much I was just acting ways for a pat in the back from my mates, for the approval of someone that I didn't even like myself. Um, I would say that's the main thing. Just that realization of, mate, stop acting like a fucking tit and just be who you want to be with, without any care of people's opinions, because like I said to you, like, you're in control of how you respond to those opinions. Do you know what I mean? People are always going to have opinions. People are always going to be opinionated. You're going to have people that disagree with you. You're going to have people that agree with you. You're going to have people that call you names behind your back, because it's just what fucking people are like. You are in control as to how you respond to that. See, if you take offense to that, that is a you problem, not a them problem. If you respond positively to that and they don't like it, then that's a them problem and it's not a you problem. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yep, 100%, mate. Just on health and fitness, how much has it changed your life outside of physical results? Outside of just the physical results?
Oh, absolutely. I probably owe a lot of my life to health and fitness. I still have my demons. I still struggle almost on a weekly basis. I don't want to say a daily basis because it's definitely not daily, but I struggle almost on a weekly basis with a lot of things internally. Um, and health and fitness is my outlet. And me being able to help other people in the same kind of situations that I have been in previously or I am currently in, it's just it gives me so much life, and it keeps me, it gets me out of bed in the morning, knowing that I've got people that have asked me for help, knowing that I have the expertise and the understanding and knowledge to be able to help them from a scientific or a literature point of view and from a personal point of view as well. It's just, yeah, I owe a lot to health and fitness, and I owe a lot to the industry as well. And it's a fantastic place to be in. You just need to make sure that you block out all the fucking shite of the day. Be careful who you listen to. Be careful who you follow, and don't get sucked into the whole kind of body comparison thing to these fit influencers and stuff. But again, that's a story for another day. It's something that we've already spoke about before.
What's on the horizon for Gary Mack?
Um, Dad life, mate. Fucking dad life. It's getting close. We're into the third trimester. We've got less than 10 weeks now. For me personally, right now, I'm not entirely sure which way I want to take my career just because of dad life. Right now, I've got I've got two full-time jobs at the minute. So I am working quite a lot. But it is giving me financial stability and financial safety to be able to bring a baby into the world, make sure myself, Rachel, and Bear, and baby as well are all cared for without any kind of stress financially. So right now it is to keep fucking powering on, helping as many people as I can for the time being. And then once baby's here, I think I'm going to need to take a bit of a step back and really reevaluate everything that's happening, and then make the decision on where I want to go in the future. But right now, it's not even crossed my mind yet. But I do think when baby's here, then it's going to need to be right. Decisions need to be made.
When's the due date?
May 16.
May 16th. Uh,
Aye.
yeah, I was going to say if you still don't know what gender it is, do you?
Nah.
No, I was going to say if it's 6 weeks early, like Jen was, then it could be a lot earlier than that. It could be the end of March, mate.
Well, we got 4D scan on last 2 Saturdays ago, so 2 weeks ago. 4D scan's the one that you can see the actual facial structure, and you basically see the face. And the woman that was doing the scan said baby's lying head down, so fucking ready to go.
Yeah, I was going to say the wee man who's currently actually just made his way to my chair right now. I was going to say he was desperate to come out, but mate, I had calls booked for the evening. Like I literally it was a Friday, and I had calls booked for my evening. I had setups to do, and I was like, I went into the hospital because Jen wasn't feeling well, and I literally got myself a poverty council cheese sandwich, and like that was us till 4 in the morning until the wee man decided it was coming out, but. Yeah, like being prepared for dad life's a whole story in itself. You'll be mate. If you apply the same thing you've applied to all your life, mate, and again, it comes down to like your resilience, being yourself, mate, you'll be absolutely fine. Not to say that I fucking mastered dad life right now, trying to deal with a wee man picking up every wire, and whatever. But what do you want your legacy to be when all's said and done?
Oh my God, that is a fucking absolutely fantastic question.
You're welcome.
Realistically, like my legacy is probably only going to live through my baby and then potentially my grandbabies, if there's any. Um, all I want from them, or all I want my memory to be to them is just a fucking solid person, just a fun, happy, carefree person to be around. Like I don't want I don't care if I don't have a name in the health and fitness industry. I don't care if I don't have, a big fucking achievement that I've ever that I've had in my life. I just want my kids to be proud of me and I want my grandkids to be proud of me. That is it. That's the legacy I want.
That's me. Um, Last question I have, mate. If you could tell Gary of 2008 one thing, what would it be?
Stop being a dick.
Well, mate, I tried to tell you in 2008. It took a while to fucking translate, but we got there.
Just stop being a dick. Stop caring so much. That was it. That's that. I think that would completely have changed my life back then. Stop being an arsehole, be kinder to people, and stop caring so much about what other people think of you.
Class, mate. Loved that. I was about to go proper Stephen Barlett there and go, if you were to ask one question for our next guest, what would it be?
I'll
Next,
write it down right and leave it with you.
I was going to say, the next guest, you, mate.
Uh, is there anything else you want to go through, man? I feel like we've covered quite a lot. Like, I know, I mentioned it just briefly, just before we go on. I mentioned it just briefly, but I really genuinely mean it. Like, you have played a massive part in me getting back into the health and fitness industry, and being where I am today. And that's something that I'll never be able to repay. But one thing that I can do to you is just say a massive, massive like thank you for everything you've done for me.
Well, mate, you talk about repaying me. If I ever do decide to go back on the pints, then I probably need to make up for a couple of years worth of not drinking. I'll start footing the tab towards you, mate. But
Excellent, excellent.
we'll hold that for a day that's undecided just yet. But no, mate. I again always. I wouldn't have said it, mate, if I didn't think you had it in you. And you've always had it in you, mate. So it's fucking great to see that you're doing super well. Though the question that Sean did ask, and I think we've answered it, unless you want to go any further into it, is why did you choose the route of PT and how did you decide to start the business and what were your goals besides making money? I feel like we've answered most of that, but I'll let you add anything
Aye.
to that.
The main reason I got into PTing was to make money. I got hit with the car salesman pitch. Do you want to work 20 hours a week and make 20 grand a year? I was like, fucking right, I do. Um, that was the main reason. I'm not going to lie. There's no fucking farting about pussyfooting about the main point. The main reason I got into PTing was because the promise of loads of money for less work or for a few hours of work, it drew me in. Um, then I started realizing that after 4 months of not making a penny, that there was a lot more to it. And then yeah, just that kind of that desire, that drive to help as many people as I possibly could. That really started to blossom and flourish, and I got to the point where I couldn't really care about the money now. I'm more driven on. I know the financial safety net is there. It's always going to kind of be in the back of my mind, but I'm now more driven. I don't get up out of bed in the morning to go right. Let's go make money. I get up out of bed in the morning to go right. Let's go fucking help people. So I've completely shifted from making money to helping people, and um, hopefully I am able to, see if I can help one, two, three people a year, then my job's done. I'm happy with that. I'm not in it to change the world. Do you know what I mean? I just want to help as many people as I possibly can in my own wee corner of the internet.
Love that, mate. Being a fucking PT is mad, isn't it? Because you get sold the dream originally, and it's like you can. I think the statement when you googled it was, as a PT, you can earn 30 grand a year. I think this was like 2008 stuff. So you can earn £30,000 a year by working 30 hours a week or whatever. And I done the maths on it, and I was like, I think you charge people like 30 quid a session. You do whatever 30 of them a week. Job's a good one. Took me 5 years, mate, to get to a point where I didn't need to work a part-time job besides my PT, mate. It's fucking
Mhm.
very difficult to get to the point. But I was going to say, mate, like fucking, like I think sometimes when people talk about PTs as like sometimes frowned upon in terms of like somebody tells you they're PT, mate. Like they could be making anything from fucking zero money to there's now PTs that are earning fucking literally millions a year. Like, and
Yeah.
it's hard to know where the scale is in terms of what that is. But I think for yourself, mate, the potential, like I'm going to be transparent in the sense that like we all technically do things for the money, and anybody who says they don't, or
Yeah.
it's not the main driver. But if you
Yeah.
wanted to work for free, mate, we'd all be up in the fucking Himalayas, wouldn't we? Like it's very much where I'd be in the same thought process as you, mate. And you're able to impact other people, and the more people
Mm,
you impact, then the finances will come alongside that. And obviously,
exactly.
when you're taken care of, in terms of like when you touched on your house, you've touched on the baby that's coming. Like a version of Gary who has those needs taken care of is a better coach. Full stop. So money becomes a factor when you don't have any of it. Like when you can take
Yes.
care of those things, I'd be a bit like you, mate, where I don't need to have I actually had this conversation with Jen quite recently. I'm like, I don't need a Lamborghini sitting outside the house. Like, as much as the thought of it's quite nice, I heard it's very ineffective to drive a Lamborghini right enough because it's so low and the fucking, like, the bumps in the road and stuff. Albeit, you don't need one of them. It's very much a case of you need your basic needs fucking taken
Mhm.
care of, mate. And I think when you're good at what you do, there's nothing to say that, like, um, I know it's a slight side tangent, but I remember when was it David Martindale came out and talked about the Livingston players like
Mhm.
getting like I think it was 1,200 quid a week or something like that. And he's like, that's fucking poverty money for a professional footballer. But I remember somebody put on Facebook going, oh, I'd love to be given 1,200 quid to play football on a regular basis. I'm like, yeah, mate, but these are people who are literally at the top end of what they do. If it was as simple
Yeah.
as 1,200 quid for what you do, mate, we'd all be doing it. The amount of fucking people that play football, but like, if you're putting it into being good at what you do, like, yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, sorry, going on a side tangent about things, mate. Is there anything that's not been said you feel that's been missed out or should have been said? No right or wrongs.
No, I think we've covered quite a lot. Like I said to you during the episode, like I know it's cliche and you probably hear it all the fucking time after PTs and stuff, but health and fitness genuinely has like completely transformed my life. I was a fat kid growing up. I got bullied in school. Not LOE man. I got bullied in school. Not severely, but yeah, I got a few kind of beat downs and stuff. I ended up becoming a bully as well, just to make myself feel better. So, growing up with a single mum, didn't see my dad for years and years in my life. I know that this isn't a sob story. I'm not looking um, for anybody that feels sorry for me, but I'm just saying, like, I came from fucking nothing. I came from a council estate. I came from nothing. I would walk about with a Donny trackie and Umbro shoes, as a kid. Do you know what I mean? I used to get slagged for the clothes that I would wear because it's all my mum could afford. So it's not like I've been lucky enough to be fed with a silver spoon. I have fucking worked my arse off to get to where I am today, and honestly, anybody can do it. You just have to put your mind to it. You have to believe in yourself a wee bit. Don't get me wrong, there is an element of luck in there as well. Like um, I got lucky with finding Fraz and 12X. I got lucky with my mate Scott owning a gym. But if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't get out of your wee bubble and push yourself out your comfort zone, you're never ever gonna get that luck as well. You need to go and, like I said, your destiny is in your own hands. Go and make your own luck. Go and fucking just go and get it. See if you want to go and get something, go and get it. It's not going to be easy. There is going to be times when you're questioning your decisions. But where would the fun be if it was all linear, if it was all easy? Do you know what I mean? Keeping yourself on your toes, you'll learn a lot more because you're forced into learning a lot more. See if I had the choice of learning or taking the easy option, I would probably take the easy option and I would learn fuck all and I would be a terrible coach, I would be shite. But because I didn't have that option and I had to go the hard route, I'm a much better person. I'm more resilient. I know a lot more than I thought I ever would know. Um, Both from a business and a personal standpoint. And now, yeah, now I'm having a fucking right good time.
Right, good timing. Well, I'm going to give you two suggestions to leave it on me. I think the question we started on is what would be the title of the movie if your life was turned into one. You just answered one there and said a right good time would be one of them. I would probably say authentically yourself would also be a very decent title for you, mate.
Okay, right, I like that one as well, mate. Aye.
But look, I was going to say Thinks, or sorry, Talks Before He Thinks is also a decent prequel to it. But Gary, been a pleasure. Where can they find you?
Uh, Instagram at gmark_health and fitness. I'm also going to plug my little travel YouTube channel down there as well for a laugh. Kyle, it has been a pleasure, mate. Where can they find you?
Is it still GR Travels on Instagram? Does that still exist?
gr travels and then gr adventures on YouTube. It used to be adventures because we were living in a van and I was trying to be that whole van life carry on. And then when we sold the van, I had to change it to adventures.
I was going to say, you're lucky I didn't spend too long with you living in a van with your fucking top knot on, living like
Oh,
a hippie gimp. But yeah, mate, when you used to have GR Travels or whatever it was, I used to think it was, at first, mate, I didn't know it was you because I'd actually just seen it coming up. And I was like, sounds like a holiday rep company, GR Travels or GR Adventures or whatever it was.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Try to book a holiday. You can find me at Kyle_biofitness one for the moment, but I'm going to reclaim just Kyle_biofitness. I've got
Excellent.
that's happening on the 3rd of April because that's when the old account expires. So fucking look out.
Fantastic. Love that, mate. Love that. Thank you to Dave and Toby, as always, for the music. Yeah, mate, thank you very much for diving a wee bit deeper into kind of my journey and where we got going. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed it. Hopefully, there's a few snippets in there of things that you can take home in your personal life. Yeah, we'll see you all next week.
See you next week. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.